Okay, now we are in Act 4, Scene 3. In this act, we are in England, so the sun is out because dark night isn't strangling the traveling lamp. The sun is out, and Malcolm is talking with Macduff. Remember, Macduff has gone to bring back Malcolm and British uh, military help to defeat Macbeth and Macbeth's armies. All right, so this scene's really strange because it starts off with Macduff trying to convince him to come back, and Malcolm's like, "Hey, you don't want me for a leader. I'd be a terrible leader." But he's really giving Macduff a little test. He says that Macbeth has sent spies to sort of lure him back to Scotland um, in hopes of killing him. And Malcolm's a little bit more cautious. Unlike his own father, Duncan, he's trying to avoid being killed. He's trying to avoid being too trusting. Okay, so he will put a little test to Macduff and say like, "Hey, if you want me for a king, just know that I'm going to embody these really bad qualities." And he's going to be talking about um, how he's super greedy, he would take people's property, how he's super lustful, and he would have sex with all the women and the wives and daughters and everybody in Scotland. And at the end, Macduff is like, you know, you're you're a horrible human being. We would never want you for king. And then Malcolm's going to say, okay, you passed the test. You have to really want a good king for Scotland. And I was just testing you. I was fooling you. I'm not a greedy person. I've never even held a girl's hand, and I want to be a great leader. And Macduff's going to be sort of caught off guard by this. But then he's going to say, well, great, let's go back to England. Meanwhile, there's going to be news from, sorry, go back to Scotland. And then there's going to be news from Scotland that Macduff's going to hear that his whole family has been slaughtered. And he's going to want to cry and he's going to weep. And Malcolm's going to say, hey, you should use this to fuel your fire. Be vengeful. Be a man and go and fight back. And Macduff, sort of contradicting everything we've heard this point up to this point about manliness, is going to say like I have to feel it as a man. Like I have to process these emotions. Like a man isn't just someone who is hard and indifferent to personal loss or suffering. It's someone who um, can endure and process a whole variety of emotions, including sorrow at the loss of one's family. So that's what this scene is about. I'm going to try to get through it fairly quickly. There's some long passages in here. Act 4, Scene 3. Enter Malcolm and Macduff. They are in England. Let us seek out some desolate shade, and there weep our sad bosoms empty. Let us rather hold fast the mortal sword, and like good men bestride our downfallen birthdom. Each new morn, new widows howl, new orphans cry, new sorrows strike heaven on the face, that it resounds as if it felt with Scotland and yelled out like syllable of dolor. What I believe I'll wail, what no believe, and what I can redress, as I shall find the time of friend I will. What you have spoke, it may be so perchance. This tyrant, talking about Macbeth, whose sole name belisters our tongues, was once thought honest. You have loved him well. Hath he not touched you? He hath not touched you yet. I am young, but something you may deserve of him through me, and wisdom to offer up a weak, poor, innocent lamb to appease an angry God. So Malcolm thinks that Macduff and Macbeth are BFFs, and that maybe Macduff is there to entrap him. And he says, he offers this metaphor like I'm a lamb, I'm an innocent lamb there for the sacrifice. And Macduff says, I am not treacherous. Malcolm says, but Macbeth is. A good and virtuous nature may recoil in an imperial charge, but I shall crave your pardon. That which you are, my thoughts cannot transpose. Angels are bright still, though the brightest fell. Here's an allusion. An allusion's a reference to another literary work or something famous. Here we have an allusion to the Bible. We have talk about angels falling. So this is the angel Lucifer, who, if you don't know your Bible, eventually became the devil. Okay, this is an angel who was jealous of God and was cast out. So an angelic figure, an innocent uh, person or creature, whatever you want to call it, once fell from grace, and that's what happened with Lucifer. And Malcolm saying maybe that's what's happening here. All right. Sorry. Angels are bright still, though the brightness fell. The brightest fell. Though all things foul would wear the brows of grace, yet grace must still look so. And Macduff says, I have lost my hopes. Perchance, even there where I did find my doubts. Why in that rawness left you wife and child, those precious motives, those strong knots of love without leave taking? I pray you, let not my jealousies be your dishonors, be mine own safeties. You may be rightly just, whatever I shall think. So it's like, why did you leave your family? Bleed, bleed, poor country, great tyranny, lay thou thy basis sure, for goodness dare not check thee. Wear thou thy wrongs, thy title is afeard. Fare thee well, lord, I would not be the villain that thou think'st for the whole space that's in the tyrant's grasp, and the rich East to boot. So you have to trust me, I'm a good guy. Malcolm says, be not offended. I speak not as in absolute fear of you. I think our country sinks beneath the yoke. It weeps, it bleeds, and each new day a gash is added to her wounds. I think withal there would be hands uplifted in my right. And here from gracious England have I offer of goodly thousands. But for all this, when I shall tread upon the tyrant's head or wear it on my sword, yet my poor country shall have more vices than it had before, more suffer, and more sundry ways than ever, by him that shall succeed. What should he be? It is myself, I mean. So now he's going to give him this little test, saying that, like, hey, I've got English forces ready to attack Macbeth, but even if I were king, I'm a bad guy. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. Here's the bad stuff. It is myself, I mean, in whom I know all the particulars of vice. Vices are like follies or sins that we might have. Particulars of vice so grafted that, when shall be opened, black Macbeth will seem as pure as snow, and the poor state esteem him as a lamb, being compared with my confineless harms. So he's saying Macbeth would be thought of as like a innocent person. He's white as snow compared to the deep impurity or blackness in my heart. And Macduff says, not in the legions of horrid hell can some devil more damned in evils to top Macbeth. I grant him bloody, luxurious, avaricious, false, deceitful, sudden, malicious, smacking of every sin that has a name. But there's no bottom, none in my voluptuousness. Your wives, your daughters, your matrons, and your maids could not fill up the cistern of my love, and my desire all contentment, impediments, would overbear that did oppose my will. Better Macbeth, that such as one to reign. So he's saying, he names all these different women. I could not be sexually satisfied even with having my way with all of your women. And Macduff then says, boundless intemperance in nature is a tyranny. It hath been the untimely emptying of the happy throne and fall of many kings. So it's like, yeah, lust really brings down a lot of great leaders. But fear not yet to take upon you what is yours. So now it's a little weird because Macduff's like, go ahead and take what is yours. Like, go ahead and take the women. You may convey your pleasure in a spacious plenty, and yet deem cold the time you may so hoodwink. We have willing dames enough. It's a terrible line. You've got plenty of women that you can have your way with. There cannot be that vulture in you to devour so many as will to greatness dedicate themselves, finding it so inclined. So we'll find a bunch of women and persuade them to have sex with you. Don't worry, you'll have all that you can handle. Malcolm then says, with this there grows in my most ill-composed affection such a staunchless avarice that, were I king, avarice is talking about greed, I should cut off the nobles of their lands, desire his jewels in the other's house, and my more having would be as a sauce to make me hunger more, that I should forge quarrels unjust against the good and loyal, destroying them for wealth. So he would take as much as he can to get, to fulfill his greed. This avarice sticks deeper, grows with more pernicious root than summer seeming lust, and it hath been the sword of our slain kings. Yet do not fear, Scotland hath foisons to fill up your will of your mere own. All these are portable with our graces weighed, so they'll hook him up with whatever he wants. And here he ends that with saying, like, it's okay because you have a lot of virtues, you have all these graces about you, these positive qualities. And now Malcolm's going to dispute that and say, I don't have any, but I have none. The king becoming graces as justice, verity, temperance, stableness, bounty, perseverance, mercy, lowliness, devotion, patience, courage, fortitude. I have no relish of them, but abound in the division of each several crime, acting it in many ways. Nay, had I power, I should pour the sweet milk of concord into hell, uproar the universal peace, confound all unity on earth. Oh, Scotland, Scotland! Macduff cries out. If such a one be fit to govern, speak. I am as I have spoken. Fit to govern? Not to live! No, not to live! O nation miserable with an untitled tyrant, bloody sceptred, when shalt thou see thy wholesome days again? Since that the truest issue of thy throne by his own interdiction stands accursed and does blaspheme his breed. Thy royal father was a most sainted king. The queen that bore thee oftener upon her knees than on her feet, died every day she lived. Fare thee well. These evils thou repeatest upon thyself have banished me from Scotland. O my breast, thy hope ends here. Okay, Macduff is distraught at hearing that Malcolm is confessing to being such a horrible person. And now he's going to say, fooled you, it was just a trick, and you passed the test because you didn't want a bad leader. Macduff, this noble passion, child of integrity, hath from my soul wiped the black scruples, reconciled my thoughts to thy good truth and honor. It's like, now I believe you're a truthful guy. Devilish Macbeth, by many of these trains, have sought to win me into his power, and modest wisdom plucks me from overcredulous haste. But God above, deal between thee and me, for even now I put myself to thy direction, and unspeak mine own distraction. Here abjure the taints and blames I laid upon myself for strangers to my nature. I am yet unknown to woman, never was forsworn, scarcely have coveted what was mine own, and at no time broke my faith, would not betray the devil to his fellow, and delight no less in truth than life. My first false speaking was this upon myself. What I am truly is thine, and my poor country's to command. It's like the first lie I ever told was this one I just told you to test your loyalty to Scotland. Whither indeed before thy here approach, old Seward with 10,000 warlike men already at point was setting forth. Now we'll together, and the chance of goodness be like our warranted quarrel. Okay, so I've got this guy, the military leader Seward. He's going to help me out. We got 10,000 men ready to overtake Macbeth and his armies. Why are you silent? Such welcome and unwelcome things at once, 'tis hard to reconcile. Okay, enter a doctor. Well, more anon. Comes the king forth, I pray you? Doctor says, aye, sir, there are a crew of wretched souls that stay his cure. Their malady convinces the great assay of art, but at his touch such sanctity hath heaven give his hand. They presently amend. I thank you, doctor. The doctor leaves. What's the disease he means? 'Tis called the evil, a most miraculous work in this good king, which often since my herein remain in England I have seen him do. How he solicits heaven himself best knows, but strangely visited people, all swollen and ulcerous, pitiful to the eye, the mere despair of surgery he cures, hanging a golden stamp upon their necks, put on with holy prayers, and 'tis spoken. So they're talking about King Edward having some sort of magical healing power. Sounds like a lot of hocus pocus nonsense to me. To the succeeding royalty he leaves the healing benediction. With this strange virtue he hath a heavenly gift of prophecy, and sundry blessings hang about his throne that speak him full of grace. Okay, now in comes Ross, and Ross is going to deliver the bad news about Macduff's family. See who comes here, my countrymen, but yet I know him not. My ever gentle cousin, welcome thither. I know him now. Good God, betimes remove the means that make us strangers. Sir, amen. Stands Scotland where it did? Alas, poor country, almost afraid to know itself. I cannot be called our mother, but our grave, where nothing, but who knows nothing, is once seen to smile, where sighs and groans and shrieks that rend of the air are made, not marked, where violent sorrow seem a modern ecstasy. The dead man's knell is there, scarce asked for who, and good men's lives expire before the flowers in their caps dine ere they sicken. So the whole country's in ruins, people are dying. Macduff says, O relation, too nice and yet too true. What's the newest grief? That an hour's age doth hiss the speaker, each minute teems a new one. How does my wife? Why, well. So here it's not really clear why Ross hesitates to tell Macduff the truth about his family, but he does, and then he tells them the truth. I guess it's hard to deliver bad news. And all my children? Well, too. The tyrant has not battered at their peace? No, they were well at peace when I did leave them. Be not a niggard of your speech. How goes it? When I came hither to transport the tidings which I have heavily borne, There ran a rumor of many worthy fellows that were out, which was to my belief witnessed the rather for that I saw the tyrant's power afoot. Now is the time of help. Your eye in Scotland would create soldiers, make our women fight, to doff their dire distresses. Be it their comfort, we are coming thither. Gracious England hath lent us good Seward and 10,000 men, an older and a better soldier none that Christendom gives out. Would I could answer this comfort with the like, but I have words that would be howled out in the desert air, where hearing should not latch them. What concern they? The general cause, or is it what concern they? The general cause, or is it a fee grief due to some single breast? No mind that no minds that no mind that's honest, but in here shares some woe. Um, but in it shares some woe, though the main part pertains to you alone. If it be mine, keep it not from me. Quickly, let me have it. So give me the bad news. Let not your ears despise my tongue forever, which shall possess them with the heaviest sound that ever yet they heard. I guess at it. Your castle is surprised, your wife and babes savagely slaughtered, to relate the manner where on the quarry of these murdered deer to add the death of you. Merciful heaven! What man ne'er put your hat upon your brows, gives sorrow's words, the grief that does not speak whispers the overfraught heart and bids it break. My children too? Wife, children, servants, all that could be found. And I must be from hence. My wife killed too? I have said. Be comforted. Let's make us medicines of our great revenge to cure this deadly grief. So Malcolm's already like, hey, I know your family's killed and you just heard this news, but let's get our revenge. That'll cure your grief. Speaks in this figurative language, to cure this deadly grief. He has no children. All my pretty ones, did you say? Oh, hellkite, all? What, all my pretty chickens and their dam all at one fell swoop? Dispute it like a man, Malcolm says. I shall do so, but I must also feel it as a man. I cannot remember but such things were more precious to me. Did heaven look on, and would not take their part? Sinful Macduff, they were all struck for thee. Not that I am, not for their own demerits, but for mine. Fell slaughter on their souls. Heaven rest them now. And then we have an important line from Malcolm. I usually put this one on a test, but whatever. And the line is, be this the whetstone of your sword. Let grief convert to anger, blunt not the heart and rage it. So he says, be this the whetstone of your sword. A whetstone is a sharpening tool, sharpens swords. And he says, let grief convert to anger. Okay, exactly as it sounds. You're full of sorrow. Let that become your inspiration for anger. Blunt not the heart. Okay, don't make it blunt. Don't dull it, but enrage it. Okay, so use this death of your family to get revenge on Macbeth. Oh, I could play the woman with mine eyes and braggart with my tongue, but gentle heavens cut short all intermission. Front to front, bring thou this fiend of Scotland and myself. Within my sword's length set him. If he escape, heaven forgive him too. So he's like, okay, I'm going to go fight this dude. This tune goes manly, Malcolm says. He's like, all right, now you're talking like a man. Come, go we to the king. Our power is ready. Our lack is nothing but our leave. Macbeth is ripe for shaking, and the powers above put on their instruments. Receive what cheer you may. The night is long that never finds the day. All right, so that is the end of Act 4. That was a long scene.